All right, I see recording in progress and we are now being streamed. So I think we're good to go. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. We are on our last event of the day. So if you are still here, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'm personally very excited for this one. I think we're ending with a bang. So we're so excited to have this conversation with creators, founders, and operators. Kicking off, we have Tala Akavan, the COO at Pietra, Joe Albanese, the CEO and founder at Stir, and Jure Holloway, creator and creative director. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm super excited to get started. Maybe we can just all go around quickly and say like a 1 minute who you are and what you're building. Tala, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Tala. I am here based in LA. Like Erica said, I'm the COO at Pietra. Basically, what we do is we have a platform for any creator entrepreneur to start a retail product line from start to finish. So you can go onto our platform, sign up, subscribe, and actually work with manufacturers and suppliers all over the world to produce a custom product, right? Much more beyond merch, not just merch, but any sort of idea that you have. And you can customize that prototype, order inventory, have it sent to our warehouse, and really just hook up your Shopify to our system and start selling. And we handle all of the logistics and kind of hassle for you. So what we've seen is that a lot of creators are super excited to sort of have their own sustainable business that they run and sell to their audiences. And so, yeah, it's been very exciting. As a COO, I kind of run all of the operations, so everything that sort of makes that possible from an operational standpoint, everything from warehouse operations to running sort of our supplier network. And yeah, very excited to be here.
Awesome. Joe, do you want to go next?
I'd love to. Thank you, Erica. Hi, everyone. I'm Joe Albanese. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Stir. I'm based in Los Angeles. Stir's kind of one sentence tagline is where creators earn together. And our core belief is nothing great is made by one person, and that the future of the creator ecosystem is more multiplayer than single player. So the products that we build are to solve the problems around finding people to work with, working with them, and then sharing the upside of what you've done with others. And kind of main way that we do that is through what we call splits, which is effectively like automated, transparent revenue sharing on any way you can make money on the internet. So you can split a YouTube video or an item on a Shopify store or a podcast or an episode or however you want to go do it. So effectively kind of helping creators pay out their teams and the folks that they work with in a transparent, really easy way. I kind of say sometimes we take the money issue out of the creative stuff, so creative people can just focus on working together. Yeah, that's my intro. Thank you, Erica.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Jure, do you want to share a little bit more about you too?
Yes. Hi, my name is Jure Holloway. I'm also based in Los Angeles, California. I'd consider myself a creative powerhouse. I do a bunch of different things. I've worked in fashion for over 10 years, started out modeling, styling, got into graphic design, producing, creative direction. And now I'm adding fashion designer to my list of things there, and have a shoe that I'm dropping this Saturday with Jeffrey Campbell. So bunch of different things going on in my world. You know, from jump, I've always been the type of person that wants to figure out how we can kind of, plug in as many outlets into the industry until one or if not all take off. And I've really have been blessed with the opportunity to take everything that I do, kind of fine tune it and shape it into something that works for me, and kind of package myself as a creator to various brands and clients. Like, this is what I can do. If I can't do it, I have a ton of people that I can hire to, to kind of fill in those gaps. And yeah, it's been really cool, and excited to see, what's going to happen and what's to come.
That's crazy about this Jeffrey Campbell shoe. I somehow didn't know this. I'm very excited for you. I also want to, that's so big. I also want to just do a quick plug for LA. If it wasn't already obvious, we all live in LA. So if you are a creator, if you want to get in creator economy, like maybe LA is the place to be. Do we feel like that is correct? Am I right about that? When you think about the creators you work with, do they have to be in LA, or anyone have any thoughts on that? Tala, do you want to go first? I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, we actually have creators all over the place. we have tons of creators even outside of the US. But personally, I am biased and I am very pro LA. And so I think if anybody wants to move out here and work with us, definitely come our way. Our company itself is actually based in both LA and New York. And we do find that like proximity to some of the more creative, quote unquote, or creator centric cities has been helpful, but I would say creators are everywhere.
Anyone, Dre or Joe, either of you, any thoughts on that?
I appreciate LA's diversity of people, culture, and food. But I would agree with Tala that the beauty of this space is that the opportunity and talent can come from anywhere. It feels very global, whereas in the past other industries have felt very siloed to a location. So +1.
Amazing. Dre, what are your thoughts?
I'm definitely gonna have to agree with both of them for sure. I mean, biased because I'm born and raised here, but also spent some time in New York. But honestly, especially with the pandemic and the way things have kind of rolled out, you could be anywhere. You can create anything from anywhere. So it really doesn't matter, in my personal opinion, because it, just like Joe said, it really goes back to just the talent and, just the skill set and all that good stuff. So it doesn't matter where you're based. If you're passionate about what you do, you can take it to the whole world, take it around the world.
I love that. Okay, so now that we've established you can be a creator anywhere and you can make money anywhere, I do have a question for you guys. So obviously, Joe and Tala, you guys work with probably some of the largest creators. Dre, you are a large creator, but what if someone in the audience is listening is a micro influencer in their own world? Maybe they're building up a small following on TikTok. Maybe they've defined a niche on Twitter. What are your recommendations for them as someone who wants to, let's say, hopefully one day monetize and do that full time and be someone like Jure, where she's packaged herself and she can sustain and live her life? Do you have any like early steps that you recommend micro influencers take? They were maybe not yet ready for Pietra. Maybe they're not really making money yet. They can't use Stir. Do you guys have any recommendations for that smaller micro influencer that maybe wants to continue to grow? Joe, do you have any thoughts or Tala? I saw you in
Yeah.
there. We'll go with, okay, Joe, go ahead.
It's a good question. So I have kind of two parts of advice. The first is, and it's kind of a common refrain, there are riches and niches. You don't have to have this massive global audience to be like, all right, now I can start earning. I think too, if you hide that mindset, it's it's the fast track to burning out. Also too, if your goal is increase your audience size as large as humanly possible, your content might lose authenticity. Right? It might not be exactly what you are naturally passionate about, and you don't want to lose sight of that. And so I would say first is find the thing you're uniquely passionate about, and maybe too, your background kind of gives you an advantage to kind of give a unique perspective on. And then what feels kind of like the guide and the natural progression on things is find a company or a brand that might be willing to find like your voice unique to partner with it. And that's a good way to get started, but I don't think if you just solely rely on that, that would be the issue in there. Like companies like Pietra and other companies that are finding ways to build more sustainable revenue. So I think it's like a good starting point, but it can't be the end all be all because it's not sustainable enough that will grow with you. And it just kind of changes the incentives of your business.
Awesome. Great to hear. Dre, do you have any thoughts on that as a creator yourself? Maybe what your mindset was in the early days?
Knowing that you're going to have to invest a lot of time, a lot of time, I mean, dollars as well, but I feel like time more than anything, just, being okay with staying in to finish that project or, fine tune a certain skill set or take time to learn something on YouTube or reading or writing, whatever it may be. But just ultimately knowing the investment that you're making within yourself, within your business, it's going to pay off. It definitely is. It's going to take a lot of time. So I think in this day and age, people are looking for that instant gratification or just that, going viral and just it happening. And that does happen. But I would definitely say, like, looking at the bigger picture, longevity, you just have to truly understand that, like, this is a long game, and you have to be willing to kind of put in the time, the effort, and the energy from jump if you want to see, you know, something come of it, or just like be able to harvest from what you've been sowing. But I would also say tap into the resources that you have around you, and the people that you already have access to, the things that you have that, you know, don't necessarily, you know, have to cost a lot of money. Like as a creator, as a model, as a stylist, like I've tapped into my friends who are photographers, my friends who are videographers, looking around and being like, oh, I have everything that I need. I thought that I couldn't get this started or start shooting, working on this project, whatever it may be, because I didn't have the finances. But I have so many people around me that are so valuable and have so many valuable just like assets and talents and stuff. So really tapping into that. And as a creator, I'd also say just like starting to build your book, starting to build a portfolio of whatever it may be, just like getting photo shoots together and, you know, organizing that, just having all of just an excessive amount of content. So when you're ready to like put your website together or someone asks for your portfolio, you have all these things that you've been working on. You know, granted, they might not be the most polished or editorial or whatever it may be, but just and also just as an artist, being able to look at something that you've created and go back to and reflect on that, or figure out, I'm a person that's like so like heavily just talks about trial and error and the beauty of trial and error, and just being able to figure out what works and what doesn't work and apply it to the next one. So kind of building that portfolio over time, tapping into the resources and the people that you have around you. Those are just things I feel like you can kind of jump into immediately. You don't need a huge following. You don't need this or that. You can just get started, and you'll start to see that grow, and that will really encourage you and kind of motivate you to continue to push forward when you do get the following, or when you do have the budget, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I love this idea about being really resourceful. I think we always talk about like what platforms do you need to be on, but sometimes it's just like who are the people that you can just tap into and who can really help you. You also mentioned trial and error, and I think that's so important. And so maybe Tala, I'll throw this question to you. Maybe there have been creators on your platform that want to start a business that you guys think are the perfect fit, and then it's launch day and oh, didn't go exactly as planned. What are your thoughts when you're advising creators on if a business makes sense for them, whether they use Pietra or they go off and start it on their own? Are there any markers that you guys look at as like a creator that's the right fit for the platform? And then how do you maybe help them overcome that fear of like, this might not work out? And business is a huge commitment, right? Ideally, they're doing it for a while. So if you have any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear.
Yeah. So the way we've sort of designed our platform is really, it's not like someone can get accepted or not, or I mean, it is open. It's an open sort of self-service platform for anybody, really. Could be an influencer, could just be someone, you know, somewhere who has an awesome idea to build something and sell it. I think as it relates to sort of likelihood of success, right, for these types of drops or launches, or really building a sustainable business. And something I was going to add to the prior conversation was, I think it's super important for creators to really know their audience and really understand their audience. This is obviously applicable to sort of the traditional influencer, but also just creators in general. Right now, as you see, expansion of this sort of industry and tons more micro influencers coming up, you really see these awesome, interesting, highly engaged niche communities cropping up. And I think really understanding, you know, what is it that makes your community different or super sort of engaged in a unique way. I think really tapping into that and focusing on that. And for our purposes, really understanding, you know, what product is going to serve them, or what are they looking for? And how is it authentic to your identity, is really what we see leads to big success with our creators. So I think that's definitely something to not overlook. And to Joe's point, when you think about a brand that kind of resonates with you or aligns with who you are as a creator, I think that's also very critical, to take that lens of like, who is my audience? What is it in them that I tap into as a creator? And then that translates sort of to offering them something that they're interested in buying.
How do you think about, or how do you advise if you guys do, telling creators how to know what their audience wants? Is it asking questions? Is it meeting them in person? Is it like how do you figure that out? Because I think sometimes not everyone always knows, or maybe it started off as one way and they want to switch it. They want to actually be known for something else. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Because I think some people are really clear on who their audience is and what their personal brand is, but sometimes it evolves and changes over time. So do you guys have any advice for that? Maybe Jeray, we can start with you because you are a creator yourself, on that piece of it.
I'm sorry, can you reiterate the question? I'm just trying to piece all of it together.
Yeah, just I mean, honestly, telling creators how they can figure out who their audience is and working with them to figure that out. I think like, I mean, as an example, on like tech Twitter, like a lot of the times a founder started one company, that's their audience, and then they pivot and start something else. How do they get clear on what their audience wants and what they want to create? Or like on TikTok, let's say you've got a funny video go viral, you've now got 50,000 followers, and you're like, wait, that was just like one funny video. Am I like a funny creator now? Like, do I have to be funny? And so I think I see at least, sometimes creators have almost this like identity crisis when I talk to them a little bit like, I did a funny TikTok, I've got 50,000 followers. Do I sell nail polish? Like, do I sell wine? Like how do you figure out like what they want, what they're willing to buy, and then who your audience really is? Because a lot of the times it's multidimensional and a lot of the times it does change. So I don't know if you have any advice on that, or maybe you can even reflect on your own process because
Yeah.
you also are so multidimensional, right? Like you've got fashion, you've got design, you've got styling, you do so much. Like, how do you think about figuring out what that niche is?
Honestly, I try not to think about it too much. And I know that's like not, that's artist Jeray. Business woman Jeray, that's like a whole, these are two different people. I'm trying to figure out how to kind of like bridge the gap between the two. But as an artist, I try not to think too deep about it just because I start to like, it all goes back to like, what am I doing this for? Who am I creating this for? For me, I want to create the world that I want to see, and hopefully people resonate with it, or hopefully people will be inspired or, can see themselves. So I would say like, for me, it's kind of, it evolved as it's always been something artistic. It's always been something creative that I do, but it goes back to that trial and error. One day I was just like, oh, like, let me mess around with graphic design and like, just start to kind of edit my content in a particular way. And then that got picked up. And then people were asking, inquiring about commissions for different graphic design work. And I was like, oh, okay, am I a graphic designer? That's cool. I've made that work for me. And making work for me. Like, what is it in my world, in my space that that I enjoy? Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to do this for a long time. I want to be able to enjoy it, but also other people can take and enjoy, or they can kind of tap into the services that I have to provide. So I think that kind of answers the question there.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
not putting yourself in a box. That's something that I've done from the beginning, is to never let anybody label me as Jeray does this and this is all she does. But understanding the industry that I work in, like especially fashion years ago, looks so different than what it does now. And like an artist in particular, like you could only do one thing. If you're an actor, you're just an actor. You can't do this or you can't do that. But I've kind of, positioned myself to just be like, I do a bunch of different things. And like you can either tap into one thing or you can tap into them all. But like, I think that, and then my audience kind of, I feel like is evolved with that as well. I get people that, are just really into like the modeling stuff that I do, and that's great. Or people that are strictly here for just like the styling work, or people that just appreciate everything that I do. And I'm like, that's great. That's cool. But I think at the end of the day, always making sure that what I do and what I put out is authentic and it's me, and it's something that I feel confident in. And regardless if other people tap into that or not, it's cool. But I know that, especially since being on Instagram, because it's a big platform that I use since it started, I still have people that follow me from like day one, and they've seen me kind of grow and blossom into everything that I am and everything that I do today, which is great. So I feel like, and it's totally fine, like if you evolve and you kind of like knock some things off the list along the way, because I I'm learning that I'm not great at everything and I won't be, and that's fine, or just some things I kind of grow out of, and that's not who I am as an artist or as a business anymore, and that's fine.
Yeah, I love this authentic approach that you keep coming back to. Like obviously I work in business, so I'm very like analytical. I'm like, what's the one word? What's the personal brand? And you're like, I just do what feels right. And I think that's like the answer is like, it doesn't have to be so cut and dry. Like these are my, 3 adjectives to describe myself. Amazing. Well, Joe, maybe I'll throw it over to you. I mean, obviously like Stir, you guys see a lot of stuff on the back end because you've got these creators that are inputting all the different YouTube and podcast and merch and everything. Where are you seeing like the trends going in terms of channels that are working for creators? And are there any surprises maybe that you've seen in the past couple years, maybe pandemic fueled, maybe not? Because, I think you guys get such an inside look at kind of across the board how things are doing. So I'd love to just hear from you, like creator trends and channels that you are excited about and are seeing do well.
Totally. I really enjoyed that last discussion, by the way. It was enjoyable to listen in. So we've been in this space for about 2.5 years. It's seen a lot. It's grown quite a bit, and I think also a lot of different mindsets from other industries have kind of poured in, which has been healthy. But it's interesting to see what the norms are from people's backgrounds and also people that have been in this space for quite a bit. The area that we sort of kind of sit within is shared upside in the things you've done. And this is extremely common in both music, right? Music, television, film, royalties are a thing. They were not as common actually in like traditional YouTube as we thought when we first came in. But what we've seen is kind of like once you give people this tool, it creates these closer knit teams, and things happen that they couldn't happen before. So basically, like when I talk to a creator that's thinking about hiring maybe an editor or their first person, and the equation that I kind of give them is you have a cap on how much time and energy you can possibly give something, and a solution to that is people. Right, good people you want to work with. But, and this is common too, is how am I going to pay this person? Either it's actually a very hard but simple question. Like, how do I pay a salary to someone when my like revenue looks like this, right? So the concept that we've brought to this space is shared upside. Some of our creators would call it equity. I mean, you can I guess you could technically call it that, like equity in a YouTube video for as long as it lasts. And that basically, that solves your upfront cash problem, right? Where you're like, I can't give you the whatever $1,000 that it might cost for this gig, but I can give you 10 to whatever % of this thing over time. And what that does, and this is like almost like a human element of us, is it changes the incentives, right? Now you don't have an editor that's doing like a task, like I got to edit this video in this thing. They become a partner. And that shared incentive breeds like a human connection that like is just very hard to do when the relationship is transactional. And we see this in the work. And give you an example. In July, an editor that works with a creator on their team has a split on like every video they do. And in July, he made $250,000 in the month. The editor. The average salary for an editor on YouTube per year. Sorry, my connection might have gone on my speakers. I think we're good. The average salary for an editor on YouTube a year is like $60,000 to $70,000. We made him quite a bit, like 3.5x that in a month. And I spoke to him, and obviously that's like a crazy amount of money for someone to make in a month. But the unique thing was because of this tool, like sharing, it's very simple, right? Like instead of a flat amount, give me a percentage of this makes. It changed like what the ideas they even started to brainstorm because they were all bought in so much earlier. And now because they've had this win, they've built something that's much bigger than just that one creator that could have been on their own. And it feels like a partnership. And like that is very special to have early on. So, we're starting to see that more and more and more. We see it with managers, editors, script writers, all those different things. And it's an exciting shift because I think there are only so many people that want to be in front of the camera or can be in front of the camera. And there are a lot of people that need to be behind to build this scalable business that lasts over a long period of time. So I think that's like, but there definitely took time and a mindset shift and trust to show like what was possible and capable. And now we've kind of moved, I feel like we're making a lot of progress on that. So yeah, I hate for that to be an ad for Stir.
No,
it's what I live every day. I apologize. I'm not a shill. Speaker.
No, you're good. I love it. I also love this idea that like bringing people together as a team is actually creating better content, and they're like reaching new limits. Like I think that's the through line that you keep mentioning is, yeah, it's amazing to get financially compensated, but because you're financially compensated well, you're incentivized to do better and more and get even higher and better. So that's a really cool trend. Thank you for sharing that. Tala, do you have any trends that you want to share that you guys are seeing that you're excited about, and maybe it's what's to come or something that you have already seen happening?
Yeah, we've just seen so much demand in this space. I mean, obviously, we see more and more creators actually doing drops, like you're talking about, Jeffrey, or starting their own lines. And so I think what we're seeing is obviously there was a big explosion in the merch, sort of subsect of creation, right? And now we're seeing that people want to go beyond merch. They want to create something that's more authentic to them. And so we're starting to see a lot more demand on both sides of sort of the marketplace, if you will, right? End customers or followers, consumers really want to put their money somewhere that they believe in the person or the mission behind it, right? Mission-driven consumerism is a growing dynamic in all of our commerce right now. And so what we're seeing is that creators are tapping into that, and more and more creative ideas are cropping up in terms of what people want to make, whether it's a skin tool, or we see people do very, very well with consumables, right? So different types of food, beverage, candy, etc. And so the trends that we're really seeing is that the sky is kind of the limit in terms of what you want to make. And of course, people are also interested in apparel and traditional merch, but we're just seeing explosive growth and demand and excitement around the rest of the categories. And so I think what's super exciting for us is to see these creators come in and have a really cool idea and not really know, to your point earlier, Erica, what's going to work, and if they're taking a big risk. And then we're seeing creators make, upwards of 6-7 figures, and it's pretty awesome to see someone who never envisioned themselves being a business owner now having $1 million business, which is pretty incredible. And so I think what drives us and what excites us is the fact that we can provide all of the tools and logistics and foundational sort of infrastructure to let creators create and not have to worry about downloading shipping labels and shipping stuff out, or dealing with, 10 manufacturers across the world, and all of the sort of tricky things that go into that, right? They can focus on connecting with their audience, creating, coming up with new ideas. And we hear this from creators all the time, which is, you guys have taken all of the hassle and given me time back to actually create a new drop or a new line or a new side business. And so that's what really sort of excites us. And I'm very interested to see how that continues to evolve.
Yeah. And it's so connected to what Joe was saying about like not wanting creators to do the finance. You're like, don't do the shipping labels either. And Dre's probably sitting there like, oh gosh, I don't want to do shipping labels. She's like,
we have your back,
great.
Dre. We have your back.
Awesome. Well, we are almost at time. I do have a very quick final question for you guys, and just kind of lightning round if you have any initial thoughts. Mark Andreessen, one of the most well-known venture capitalists, like maybe a few weeks ago, he made a bold statement at like a summit, and he said that traditional brands are dead and creators are the future of business. And that he feels like any creator, their follower count or everything, we're all still undervaluing it like crazy. And he just made this super bold statement, like creators are the future, corporate brands are dead. Does that like resonate? Yes, no? And if you have any like gut reactions based on what you see, Jure, you as a very successful creator yourself, and then Joe and Tala, you guys see the back end of it. If you just have any initial gut reactions, I'd love to hear.
I can kick it off very quickly because I think my answer is going to be quite obvious, which is what I said before, which is consumers want to put their money behind a mission-driven leader, person, influencer. That is sort of the crux of influencing, right? And I think we are starting to see that the power dynamic has shifted a little bit between influencers, creators, personas, and traditional brands. And you see that, just like Dre was talking about, you have brands coming and approaching individual influencers or creators to partner with them. And so we're starting to see that, that power is becoming very, very evident. And I couldn't be more excited about it. I'm very, very happy to see that trend sort of manifest. So yeah.
I'll definitely
Awesome, Dre.
back off of what Tala said. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm really excited because it's been a long time coming to get here and to like finally be in this place where, brands are like tapping into everything that I do, or majority of things that I do is really, really cool, and are asking me for advice, or kind of allowing me to lead. One of the biggest things that I love about working with Jeffrey Campbell, I've been working with them for 6 years, just doing a bunch of different type of freelance, wearing a bunch of different hats, but they have always respected the vision, seen the vision, and allowed me to kind of run with the vision that I have and to do what I want to do. And now we're creating a shoe. So I definitely, understand and see the value of tapping into creators, and I definitely see, and know that they are the future, because they're the ones, before I was a creator, I was a consumer, I was consuming. So I have this consumer perspective, I have this creative perspective, and I also, the business side of things, I have this business mindset. So I completely agree. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen and how this is going to kind of shift things across the board.
I'll carry it or finish it off, but I think those are great answers. My response to Mark would be yes, but. And the but is not unless major things change. And I think the first is more sustainable monetization models. I think like there's 80% of every dollar that moves to the space is through brand deals, right? Like creator businesses are not marketing companies. They need to create their own products and have more ways to do that. I think too, there's an over-reliance on algorithms which dictate who goes to the top, right? An algorithm kind of creates this top 1%, which decreases the amount of creators that can possibly, make a living off of that. So I think that's something that needs to change. And three is, like there's a finite amount of attention in the world, which means there's like, only so many, when we use the word creator again, front of the camera type folks. And I think that means we need tools and more access to people that can help contribute. I'm a big concern I have with this space right now is how high creator burnout and churn is. And I think it's because of these things that I think need to fundamentally change. And it can be done by startups, it can be done by creators. It needs to be done through technology, big tech and smaller tech. So it's incredible optimism and excitement, but like fundamental root level change that also needs to happen, and making sure that it's like gets shared by the folks that are in this space and those sentiments and being loud about them. Yeah.
And I think to piggyback off of that, that's exactly what companies like Stir and Pietra are trying to do and democratize in terms of access to the tools and the infrastructure to be able to take that power back as a creator, right? And not be so beholden to algorithms and big marketing and sort of everything that goes into paid media, right? So I think we're all in the same, sort of in the same mission boat here.
I love it. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I feel like this was such a valuable conversation. I am excited to watch this YouTube recording back and get new gems next time I listen to it. So for those of you listening, we will have this uploaded so you can take a listen as well. Thank you all for being here. This was so lovely, Tala, Jure, and Joe. Thank you everyone also for attending the summit. This is the final panel. So I hope you guys all had a lovely day. And yeah, thank you again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.